We're thankful for all of the many blessings. We're thankful for the opportunities we have to be here tonight to serve one another and to work on city matters. We're thankful for our staff and for the planners of the city and for the work that they do and accomplish. And we pray that we can fulfill the needs of the meetings this night, that all will be well, that we'll be professional and be able to answer questions correctly and be able to make good and wise decisions. We're thankful for all that Thou provides us, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Commissioners. Staff, I'd like to thank you for your help in putting everything together for tonight's meeting. Also like to acknowledge the presence of Councilman Henderson here in the back. Thank you for attending, appreciate it. And again, staff, thanks for all the hard work that you do making this meeting available to the public and to us as commissioners as well. Tonight, the first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I'll look for any changes or suggestions or update. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve it.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I make a motion we approve the agenda for September 7th, 2022.
Shill, I second.
I've got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
This time also, we'll go to number 2, approval of the minutes from our previous meeting, August 17th, which you've all received. Had a chance to review. If there's any updates, please let it be known at this time. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve those minutes as well.
Commissioner Tupou, I move to approve the minutes from August 17, 2022.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I second.
Got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes are approved. Number 3, the declaration of any abstentions or conflicts from any of the commissioners on any of the agenda items this evening. I personally do not have any.
None here.
All right. We'll jump right into our first item on the agenda. This is a preliminary plat. It's a public hearing as well for consideration and recommendation to the City Council for Burke Springs Phase 3 subdivision, located approximately Crimson Creek Drive and Rimview Drive. The applicant is Mike Stewart. I'll turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you, Commissioners. As previously stated, this particular subdivision is proposing 26 lots on an area covering 7.624 acres. The zoning designation at this location is single-family residential 8,000 square foot minimum lots, which is the R18 zoning. The surrounding zoning is planned unit development residential to the north, east, south, and the west. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates to this location. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval with the conditions of the preliminary plat as outlined. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary plat for the Burke Springs Phase 3 subdivision on to the City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions as seen in the report. And I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thanks, Eldon. Commissioners, I'll open the floor for any initial questions at this time.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the, there we go. Go ahead.
So on this, Commissioner Bullock, that center piece in the middle, the long rectangular piece, there's an existing home there. but their access is going to come off of Rimview Drive to that.
It will.
And are they going to be able to subdivide that later on or no?
That could be an option for them.
But they will, I mean, the most they could do eventually would be 2, I'm assuming, because of the train. They can't put,
No, probably split it in half.
okay, that's what I was wondering. I just wanted to make sure we weren't cutting off their access to get into there.
That's why the road ended up being built right on the side of that.
Okay.
Any other initial questions, commissioners?
Not right now.
Eldon, thanks. What I'll do at this time is open this up to a public hearing. For those of you that have not been to a meeting like this before, the public hearing is designed to get your comments on the record for city council to review when they make their decision on this. What our job to do as a planning commission is to recommend an approval or denial to the city council. We're not the decision makers. We're certainly here to welcome your comments. Coral Canyon, in my 5 years on this commission, has always been kind of, I don't know, like a hot spot, certainly emotional on some of the projects we've had out there, and I don't think this is any different. We received some comments by mail as well, by email as well, that we've reviewed. And it's not that that's a bad thing. It's just something that we want you to get up and use your comments to your advantage and put them on the record and come and talk to city council when it comes time to make the decision. The decision is not going to be made here this evening. I just want to make sure that that's clear. Sometimes people think that, how do I want to say this? We have more power than we do. That sounds terrible, and that's really not what I want to say, but we're here just to listen and get your comments on the record. So if you could keep your comments to 3 minutes, if you could, that would be excellent. If you'd like to come and speak, please remember to state your name for the record so we can get that in the notes. Melody is taking notes in the other room. So I welcome each of you that would like to speak to this item to please come forward and state your name for the record.
My name is Ralph Bauer. And my first question is Mr. Stewart present?
I saw a hand go up, yes.
Okay. Maybe you can answer a question I have. Our home is directly behind Lot 11, above and behind it in the Coral Canyon section. And trying to look at this small map and figure out distances and such, it appears that there's about 7 feet between my property line and the rear property line of the lot below, lot 11. And so I'm just wondering what will be there. Is it just open space?
Ralph, did you have other questions as well that we could write down? We'll try to answer them all at the same time if we can get some.
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll try to answer part of that right now. It looks like his back property line touches your back property line. Now, I know there's retaining walls, it looks like they're there. I think that's what those dashed lines, there's not a 7-foot gap. You can see these black lines right in here. If you can see my arrow kind of bouncing right there. The back of your property is right here where that 89 is. And that's the back of his property, so they abut. Now, I think this is a retaining wall, is that right? Yeah, he says, yeah, so that's what, you still own that, what you think is 7 feet? You know where you see my arrow kind of bouncing there? Yes. There's one retaining wall and then a lower one, and then that's still your property right up to his, where that they actually meet boundary to boundary. Okay, there's a drop off there. I don't know that there's a retaining wall because it's undeveloped land currently.
Yeah, whatever that is, and that they'll kind of work that out, but that's what, you're actually, your rear line and the rear line of lots 9, 10, and 11 back up with you and all your neighbors, property to property. Now, contours are going to be what's out there, but.
All right. Thank you.
My name's Jolene Bauer. My question, since I live on that lot, is we are currently a view lot. We have an outstanding view. These homes that are being built or proposed to be put there are going to be at a higher level. Two questions. One, they're going to take away our view lot, which, by the way, we've paid extra for, and we also pay taxes on that. It's more than across the behind us on the other side of our home. Is that going to bring down our prices because we're losing our view? The other question I have about that is, well, the altitude that they have it at, the level that they're building these homes at. They're bringing in a lot of dirt to bring that ground up higher. So they're making it so these new homes are view lots, not taking into mind that all of us along that line right there have already paid and been living with that. So my question is there any way that they do not build that up as high as they're wanting to do, that we can all share this view and not be completely blocked off by a lovely house on our backside?
Thanks, Jolene.
Good evening. My name is William Fellhaver. I live on Rimview Drive. If you can raise that map a little bit, I'll show you where Mike drives around my house all the time. Right there where it says the estates at Burke Spring, that's my lot. That's where I live. I notice on the map that got sent out that there's a retention area right beside my lot. I don't understand the purpose for that. He's going to raise the lots about 12 feet, it looks like. That means he's going to have to raise the road 6 feet or so that goes all the way around there. It seems to me the water's going to be going down the street all the way to the bottom of the hill, where there already exists a fairly large retention area. And I have to say that I'm ignorant when it comes to what the heck does a stormwater detention. I didn't know you detented water. I thought it was retention, but what's it built out of? Is it a hole in the ground? I want to get some kind of confirmation that if there's, I know we don't get that much rain, but if it fills up with water, where's it going to drain? I don't want it going underneath my wall, my existing wall, and making a mess out of my property or my slab. So that's my main concern. Also, where it says point of beginning on there, from there to the dotted line that shows the road, Mike took the property about a foot from my current wall, and it sloped up on a pretty steep angle, but it still goes up to about a foot. And I see other areas on that map that have retention walls. I want to make sure I have something behind my lot. I also talked to the county guy about that. He said he was going to check it out. And those are my concerns right now.
Okay. We can
And I
definitely get you an
appreciate
answer.
your consideration.
Sure thing. William and Jolene, we can get you answers to that tonight. Both of those can be answered. So
Okay,
we'll
great.
get to all the questions.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Brian Ury. It's U-H-R-I. It's with a Y, Brian. And I actually live behind lot 20 towards the bottom. I just moved in, actually. Part of the reason I got the house that we're in, we were the last house built in phase 1. Yeah, right where your cursor is. Sorry. Part of the reason I got this house is because it's a 2-story, one of few in Coral Canyon. I lucked out. I didn't choose the model, but I can see my parents' house from there. I wanted to live closer to my parents with our grandkids and things, so that was a great option for us. And what I love about Coral Canyon is the sense of community there and the sense of families and everything else. And as I look at this map, there's no improvements to the area. It is built to maximize profit of the homes being built, to maximize square footage by building higher homes, as was pointed out with the retentions. And it doesn't seem to me that they have looked at what the community has looked at for things like guidelines in terms of buildings, sizes, etc. I think that it should be a large consideration of this council's recommendation as it goes up to the city council. The feedback that comes from those that live in the community. St. George is growing like crazy. It really is. It's awesome. But if we have to do it at the expense of the people that live here and the things that they've purchased, like view lots, then shouldn't we do it a different way, a way that's better? If you look at Burke Springs Phase 1, 2, and 3, you'll notice that we also have the world's smallest park. And in all of the planning in Phase 2 and Phase 3, I don't see any parks. I don't see any community areas. And with all the xeriscaping going on, we could really use some grass and trees too. So if this council was to make a couple of recommendations, I would say that it should be that the homes be built within the guidelines that are set forth by the surrounding HOAs in terms of size and finishing, and that some additional consideration be given to definitely the height of the homes. Look at where that ground level is now, because they're taking up 20 feet and then putting big houses on top of it. And then lastly, what effort, if any, has gone into improving the area as well, instead of just making a dime off of it. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
My name is Phil Johnson. I'm in lot CVW4, which is Crimson View subdivision right there, next to the upper retention pond. And I as well want to know an assurance to know how that structure of that pond is going to be built to keep that from undermining my property. Where they're elevating back lot 12 6 feet above my property existing. They're elevating the lot next to Mr. Fellhibber 9 feet, or 10 feet, sorry, up to 16 feet in the rear view towards lot 25 and 24. They're doing this to maximize basement walkouts, if you can see by the elevations. And this is very frustrating when the existing land, when we purchased these properties, was purchased as view properties, where we will lose our views. If there's any way that this committee can take into consideration, again, making things more economical, because the way they've designed their entire, I'm in construction and development, and the way they've designed this, they're looking out for all of their current phases of Phase 2 and Phase 3 and ignoring everybody else around them. But another one of my biggest concerns is a liability policy my insurance is having me take out if I do have a retention pond next to my property. So those are a few of my major concerns.
Did you say that, you have talked to them and they are going to require you? Okay,
I have talked to them, and I have the emails I can send you.
that's fine. All right, thanks.
So, thank you.
Hi, my name's Beverly Workman, and I'm an owner in Coral Canyon. And I know for the past few years, we've gone back and forth through these meetings about the guidelines that we buy into and what's expected, the earth tones, the one-story homes, and we've gone round and round with Cole West on them trying to say, well, now we want to do this, we want to do that. I think all of us have bought in to an HOA with guidelines and consideration for the area and the environment, views and not views. And I think that for the most part, Coral Canyon has had some response from you and from the city planners, or from the city council too, that feel strongly that Coral Canyon is a nice place to live and that it is a nice looking place in Washington. And I think that our deepest hopes are that it remain that way. And I think that when I look up toward the clubhouse and I see the land just being built up and built up and built up, it makes me really wonder why somebody would come in and do that if it's not for profit only. But I think to go in front of someone's view And to build that up and try and take away their view and make your dollars and your company and the people that you want to sell to more important than the people that have already lived there and bought into those areas, I think that's not in very good taste. And I think it's really a disappointment that it would even be considered to support something like that. We're one-story homes for 99.9% of the buildings in there. And we have certain color codes that we live by. We've talked to other companies or other things that have come in that area who have decided that it would be a good thing to keep that going. And I know even the new church that's going to go in, instead of being the pristine white sparkle and everything, they've now considered to go more in earth tones, and they don't want to be sticking out so much. They want to blend in also. So I think when you've got as many respondents in our area that feel strongly that as we do, that in consideration of that you ought to support the people who already live there. If it was your home and somebody decided to build a big monstrosity in front of your house or right in your view, I don't think you'd like that too much. So I hope that you would put yourself in our shoes and consider, is this something for good or something not, something that's going to help the area, something that's going to make Washington City look good, or is it not? And I hope you'll think that through.
Thanks, Beverly. Anybody else here in the chamber would like to speak to this item? I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm closing the public hearing. I found out that's something new I can do. All right, the public hearing is now closed. Appreciate all your comments. I've made some notes here. We'll look to maybe get some answers from either our staff that can help us with some of these questions and or the developer. Commissioners, do you have any additional questions that have come to mind after the public hearing? Developer?
Yeah, I think we start with the questions that have been brought up and then see where it
I've
goes
got a
from there.
question. So is there CCNRs for the entire Coral Canyon, or they all have different phases?
Yeah, Birch Springs is not part of Coral Canyon. That's one of the things I wanted to clarify. A lot of people were talking about, you know, the Crimson View gentleman. I think you don't live in Coral Canyon. Yeah, so I'm just, no, we're just clarifying things going through.
It's not the same HOA, though. There are
Right.
similarities between the CCNRs.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of efforts of blending in and maintaining a consistent look and feel throughout the area.
That Burke Springs is an area right in the middle of Coral Canyon.
Okay, we just can't make comments from out here. I'm just not to be, because it needs to be on here. So just point out, so this orange area surrounded by the beige, Coral Canyon's the beige brownish area, and the Burke Springs area is what's the R18. It's a total different zoning. You know, Coral Canyon has its book that's yay thick that says everything has to look a certain way. The walls are a certain way. The mini parks, the big park, it's all laid out, you know, and that's what, it's a planned community development, master planned area. Way back in the day, the folks that lived here in this Burke Springs area, there's just a handful of them, and I think almost one family decided they did not want to be part of Coral Canyon, so they weren't. And it's been kind of this island that's been there for a long time. And so they aren't held to the same design guidelines. You know, Coral Canyon wanted to sell the one-story homes, but, you know, it's hard for me to take a straight zoning zone and tell them they can't build something when everybody else in an R18 throughout the city can build.
Seems like you're interjecting with opinion. I'm just curious if we can.
I'm explaining, answering a lot of your questions. That's all I'm just, they need to hear, they heard, you know, how you presented it. So I'm just letting them know what the facts are for the city. I work for the city, just letting my planning commission know what's out there. It's not about I'm for this or not for that. It's not that at all.
Drew, before you go in, I'd appreciate it if there wasn't any more comments that came from anybody here. If you want to make a comment, let's do it afterwards. Happy to talk to you, whatever it is. I have all due respect for Drew. Drew already gave me some stuff. My question is going to be, how did that end up that way? And you've answered that. So absolutely continue down your path and keep informing us as a planning commission. What we're trying to do is help some of these people get their questions answered.
Yeah, so when it comes to the 1-story and 2-story, my straight zoning, I don't have the ability in the city, I think. I mean, you could do it, but I think we set ourselves up in a position that's probably not well legally, unfortunately. So we're not limited to that because it's straight zoning. This is what's allowed anywhere in the city and in an R18. So that's why, unfortunately, they could put 2-story homes. You live in one of these folks lives in a 2-story home. Again, they're not part of Coral Canyon. Just to clarify where we're at zoning wise and all that. So hopefully I think that answered a lot of that for you. If there's something else I can clarify for you.
Just one thing for me. Did I understand you correctly that the orange was here before Coral Canyon at all?
I would probably, now what it was zoned back then when Coral Canyon, that's back in the 1990s. Coral Canyon came in the late 1990s in a PCD. I wasn't around then with the city, so I'm not sure what the zoning.
I don't know what the zoning was, but there was the single house that's been there since.
There were a couple of them, right? I think one or two.
Maybe some of them have been
brought
torn
down.
down. But right out there, as a high school kid, we would go out there, and because there was nothing, there was just that one road right there that took off Coral Canyon Boulevard, basically, that went all the way out there. So it's been there in that family forever.
Ever since I've been here, and then Perry Homes built the Burke Springs, the bottom ones that are built now. And so these other families that just held out longer, that are on the north and the northeast.
So is this all the same subdivision as Burke Springs? I mean,
they're different developers, but it's
still, the HOA is still the one HOA for the whole. Or are they going to be phase 1's a different HOA than phase 2 and phase 3?
They can be different ones. They can all, it's a choice, but it's a different developer. Perry Homes did the Burke Springs one, the homes that are built now. So now we have a different developer doing the rest. At least this particular phase that we're on right here is a different developer.
Right.
For this one right here. It looks like he's keeping the same name and just for, and which I don't blame him. It's identity, finding location. So he's just going to continue the Burke Springs 3. Now, I'm not sure we can ask him when he comes up what his plans are with CC&R.
But it's not the same owners as the original. This is another subdivision besides Burke Springs. That's where some of the confusion is.
It's different land. It was owned by different folks, over the time. So
this is a new subdivision, but it's phase 3. So that's why we're thinking that it should be part of the original everything.
Right. Okay. But again, they don't always have to carry them. It's just sometimes they like to because it's easier. But you have to have everybody buy into the same HOA and the same fees, etc. So
are the crab trees here by chance? Okay. Commissioners, that answered at least a couple of questions that we had for staff. Are there other questions that we have for staff? Mike, we'll have you come up in just a second if you could help us out with some of these.
I know we go through the LIDs and the stormwater retention all the time. Can you explain to us for the group how those work, what they were talking about, just the best you can, what the retention ponds do?
You want me to help you and just clarify the difference between detention and retention? That question was asked. Detention holds the water for a certain amount of time, but releases it at a X amount of flow based on what engineering is. Retention means it comes in and dissipates completely into the ground or absorbed into the air by evaporation. That's retention. It's retained on site. Detention means it's a holding place. It's detained for a short while, then released at a controlled flow out of different pipes. So just helping John. I hope I did all right on that, right? Yep. Okay.
John, could
finish your LID.
John, could you tell everybody what you do for the city as well? And any other staff that speaks this evening, it might be helpful as well.
Yeah, I'm the new development project manager. So all these new subdivisions come through my office for review and then inspections during construction. So Stormwater, yes, we have our stormwater, our detention retention ponds, which are for pre-development, post-development stormwater. Then we have our LID, which is low impact development, which we work on the last little segment to try and keep the water in the general area and let that soak back in, is basically the broad definition of it stuff. You can see with this stormwater detention pond, as Drew was referring to, it's a detention pond. So the water will come in here, it captures all the flow from the subdivision and can only release at the pre-development rate from there. So you can see there's several, you got a couple inlets, pipes that actually come into this stormwater detention pond. There will be an overflow box that once the water hits that, then it'll discharge, and it'll discharge out to the curb and gutter and then down the curb and gutter into additional storm drain. So I haven't seen the full construction plans yet. This is just a preliminary plat. So I don't have the full details of.
So it's just basically that's just going to hold the water so you don't get the massive floods coming from everyone else.
Right. So now
down
that we
on
have the
everyone
new
else.
pavement, homes, all the rooftops and stuff, we'll capture that water and then release it at a slower rate.
Yeah, so it's not going to stay there. It's not going to. It'll release it all. It just does it slower so that the ground can take it and everything else can take it.
Yeah, so that we don't overwhelm our system or homes and properties down below us.
Is there any chance either of these could overfill?
Always a possibility with all of our detention ponds, all stormwater for all municipalities. You can only design for certain storm events before it becomes cost prohibitive. So let's say we had a 500-year storm event. Yeah, there's no way that we could contain that much water. So that's always a possibility. Obviously, the chances are very minimal, but
You mentioned though that the overflow will discharge to the curb and gutter, correct? So if
That's what
the
I'm
detention
guessing, yes.
pond fills and overflows, it's not going to overflow onto somebody else's property. It's going to flow into the gutter.
yes, generally we design any of the overflows to head out away from other developed properties.
Drew, maybe this isn't a question probably for either of you, but if Thad was here, it'd be helpful. Who, or maybe he's on the phone. Thad, are you on the phone by chance?
No, he's booked up tonight. so.
Okay. Where does liability lie in something like that? I mean, I know, again, this isn't your area of expertise. Is there inherent liability that we're bringing on here by putting something next to these current homes that may be a issue in a 500-year flood?
We, in all of our subdivisions, a detention pond is next to some other developed property. You can't isolate them away from other properties. I mean,
They have
So
to be.
they-
They have to be in the subdivision that they're.
it has to be within the subdivision, yes.
Okay, so that helps answer.
Subdivision or like Coral Canyon, PCD, a larger area, they've got several regional basins and stuff like
So
that.
that makes sense why they have to have these ones, because this is a different subdivision than the other one. They can't use
Right.
those
They have to
detention ponds.
deal with their
They have to have their own. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So
And
that's
as for,
that-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, William, that should answer your question is why does it need to be there? Right there. Then that's why they're saying that these need to be there. It has to be inside that subdivision. Okay, that helps me. Sorry, John, I cut you off.
No, some of the questions in regards to grade of some of the lots, if we go to a couple of lots, I'd be happy to go through, if you go up to, say, lots 10 and 11, Drew. You can see we have existing contours with pad elevations. So on lot 11 there, you can see that they're 3096, 3094. Those are the existing contours. And the pad elevation that they're proposing is a 3098. So even part of that lot's already at a 3098 elevation. So they're flattening it off at its more or less its current high point across that ground.
So they're cutting and filling, not necessarily bringing more in. I mean, they might bring some more in, but they have to cut it and fill it to get it to the right elevation.
To balance the ground, yes. So you can see, the lot next to it and stuff. That dark contour on 10, right through the middle, that's 3,100. Their pad elevation is 3,101. So a foot above that point on that lot. So, and generally, most of the lots are in that general thing. There's a few that have a little bit more fill and stuff like that, but just for reference, that's what we're looking at on those lots.
Awesome, thank you.
I've got a question. We have a document in here. It's an agreement between Jay Curtis together with Prime Excavating and Coral Canyon, talking about responsibilities, and it's not going to be a financial obligation to the HOA, but I don't see a letterhead and a signature. Is that a legal document?
That's the first that I'd seen that document. So I have no idea. I think Mike can probably acknowledge that one better than I can.
I'm just stupid, so I'm asking the question.
Yep. I would defer to Thad if he were here on that one, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would hate to hazard a guess on that.
I would expect that he'll certainly be here for the city council meetings when this comes before them. So I would think that, Brett, if we can make sure that he gets these questions answered for you guys.
You've answered my questions. Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you.
John, thanks. Was it Phil? I'm kind of curious, just for my own curiosity's sake. When talking to your insurer, did they was it clear from them if it was a retention or detention, if it mattered?
If it's a pond leaving my property that somebody could fall in, over the wall, and they went over the wall from my property, that's carried $2 million liability, personal liability.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, any other questions that you have for the staff? And otherwise, or if not, when we finish those, we'll have the developer come up and.
Would it be possible to get copies of that? I mean, it seems strange for a homeowner to be responsible for somebody else's property.
It'd be definitely helpful for city council. If you want to submit, is that something, Drew, they could submit to you ahead of time so the city council would have it? Or what's the appropriate action? I'd never heard of it, by the way, so this would be new.
I'd never heard of it either. That new to me when I called and asked. And they were also wanting to know what the substructure was going to be to keep the water from undermining, being that I'm going to be at a lower elevation.
Will you do me a huge favor? Will you say that in the microphone so we can get it in the notes so city council can have this? Just state your name again for the record.
Phil Johnson. And my insurance company was also wanting to know what the substructure, what the structure wall is going to be made of to keep this water from undermining into my current property.
Yeah, and I just, again, for the record, I'd asked you earlier if they made determining a difference between detention or retention. It did not matter.
It did not matter.
Okay.
Any pond, rocks, drop off, anywhere somebody could climb over a wall and get hurt.
I would encourage you to get that in the hands of city council, or at least have that when you have a chance to speak to city council about this item. That would be helpful,
Or
in my opinion. Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure our mayor would know about that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure our mayor would be able to answer
that's
that
right.
question very well.
Mayor's an insurance guy. He might have a opinion. Anything else? All right, Mike, if you don't mind coming up. For the record, Mike, I've never met you. Let me see. Never even seen you, so it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
People have accused me many times of being in the pocket of the developer. I don't know who you are. So there's a lot of questions that have been asked. Certainly we can remind you of some of them, but I think you probably have some comments about what you've heard this evening. Please go ahead and take some time to.
Sure. No, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the staff answering a lot of the questions. You're used to this. The elevations, I was hoping, my engineer's not here tonight. Does it show what the current Coral Canyon? I know I have a plan somewhere that does, because our intention is to stay quite a bit lower. Does it show what their pads are versus ours?
you can only see contours right here, and they're just saying this one right here where my arrow is, 3106. Then the next one down, and again, they're in 2-foot intervals. So that's why you go 104, 106, 108, and 10. And then you're stating your pad's going to be 3098, which is actually 6 feet below. Well, there's a 3100 right here is one of the last ones on those lots right behind you. So you're 2 feet, with that lowest one at the bottom of their lot, it looks like.
And I just couldn't remember, because I know as you stand on that property, and I think it's more as you go east or west, there's 2 tiers of retaining walls. And I know when we first walked this, and we got our cut fill sheet from the engineer, and they told us how many yards of dirt we had to import. We kind of freaked out because it was expensive, and we actually went and said, hey, can we cut that down a lot? We actually cut the whole thing down 5 feet to save on that. So there is no intentions to build that up any more than we have to. Trying to take into consideration all the neighbors, especially the Crabtrees, their driveway. That's one of the biggest spots. We were standing at the bottom, their driveway, trying to make their driveway as nice as possible going into theirs. And that's, do you see that little finger, that box is their house, and the finger to the right, just to the right, there you go. That's kind of their current driveway. It's quite steep. And so we were trying to find that happy medium to put that road to be as nice to them as possible. So that's where that 3096 elevation came about, is based off of their elevation, and trying to get just things to flow as minimal as possible with as least dirt movement. So there is no intentional building up to maximize views at all. Just trying to find a happy medium. The detention basins, my ideal would be able to dump into the Coral Canyon one, where we currently in the second phase have an agreement with, but the flow of that does not allow for that at all. I mean, just the natural flows to there, and not wanting to dump it onto the existing neighbors. That's why we have the detention at the end of each 2 of those streets. So there is no mess coming onto them at all. And those detention basins, obviously we plan on the engineers that know their stuff to design those. All the ones I've done in the past are usually like a 2-to-1 on the sides, nothing that ever can be fallen in safety wise. And there's always, at least everyone I've ever done, is an overflow. So if it ever does fill up, it's going back onto the streets, not dumping onto surrounding lots. So if anything, it slows the flow of what current water is going on there.
Is it inappropriate, Drew, to ask if there's, for the 2 homeowners that have spoken this evening that are right there next to those detention ponds, is there a way that they can get in touch or speak to your engineer where they can have a conversation to help the homeowners understand why and all? Because I feel the side of the homeowner here where they're coming here for the first time. They don't know any of this stuff. I barely know this stuff, and I'm sitting up here. I'm not supposed to be an expert in this, and that's what we have experts for. But if they don't have the opportunity to talk to somebody to help them understand a little bit better what's happening next to their property, I think that would help. And I don't know what the platform is for that, but I just want to throw that out there.
I mean, once we have that detailed drawings, which obviously then goes to Drew and to John and Eldon, everybody, they all look at that, and obviously at that point it can be public because we have it finalized. The nice thing is the engineer that is doing this, also the city hired, that did your entire storm drain management. So we couldn't have picked a better person that's more familiar with all the storm drain for the entire area. So anyways, they're the experts on that. And so we trust them, and if anything, it'll be better than what currently is there now with probably mud running down.
Was there ever conversations that took place with the Crabtrees to try to buy their piece of property from them?
There's not. They've been hard to get a hold of. And this last time I finally caught him, super nice guy. He was thrilled. And I asked him, I says, Woodford, here, do you want us to stub utilities? Because he's kind of off the grid there. I want to take these drawings and catch him again and see if we can do that and help him out and get some utilities and the road stub. Because I think he said he wanted to have 1 lot for his son and then keep some lot for storage. He's storing his stuff on our property currently, be on the north side of his house. So I think he wants to move it down to the side. Hopefully we can get that cleaned up. But I've only spoken with him once, and he was a super nice guy and super supportive. So yes. All right. Doug, you had a comment on the letter. What is that? The letter you say between the HOA, Coral Canyon HOA? Yes, we do have it signed and notarized one that I thought was some.
It was just a letter that was odd.
There's nothing
that didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Had no signature. Had no
We'll
letterhead.
dig into that because it seems like I saw a sign, because there was years prior to me getting lots of back and forth with the Coral Canyon HOA of us sharing and going in and improving their current. Wasn't even a detention area, because it actually just was a straight flow through, and so we're actually making it a detention, which helps them downstream. So we're going to put quite a bit of money into that one to improve for that area. So as far as I knew, I thought everything was signed and notarized. So we'll make sure the city's got a copy of that.
Yeah, I just looked at it and saw it just kind of randomly, and I thought, that's a little weird.
You can see a notary on the back side of this, but I don't know if
Oh,
it's
you
pertaining
can?
to this doc. Well, it's very faint. But you can tell it's the back side of the letter, like from a copy. It's
You got
clearly
my
not
eyes.
something I would count on, but
Okay.
it's dated January 18, 2022. But
Another question, as far as the CCNRs go, we had reached out to, I think, Dave Houston, which I think he is the property manager or part tied to the property manager of Coral Canyon, and I think Burke Springs. We wanted to get and look into combining, and just for continuity, the Burke Springs CCNRs or HOA, if it makes sense for both of us. Obviously, we have our own detention bases they have, so I don't know how that works. I want to leave that up to property management and HOA to say, hey, worst case scenario, let us have a copy of your CCNR so we can follow along those, because we like that look. The houses all look good. There's continuity there. So if anything, we would be copying more the Burke Springs and the Coral Canyon CCNRs.
So the letter that was uploaded talks about a retention basin, but you keep saying retention, but on the map it says detention.
That's probably a bad habit that I've had for years. So yes, it's that's a habit. I'm used to calling retentions, but they are a detention.
Do you know what style of homes are you planning on building here?
We don't have a particular
that far
style. We're going to be selling the lots to different builders and whatnot on that. And like I said, we love the looks of the Burke Springs one, so probably something along the lines of those. That answer a lot of the questions.
Mike, can I ask a question? There was some discussion about the dotted line being a retaining wall. Is that existing retaining, or is that going to be new retaining?
I can't remember what the difference is, but on the west side and that north side, that is all existing 2 tiers. I think you've maybe some 3 tiers of retaining walls that are already in there. Where that stops and starts, I don't remember. But
There was just the one gentleman that asked the question about what was going to happen behind his lot, or what he was trying to get a visual of what was there.
if there's spots that are not complete, then we would complete that retaining wall. But Coral Canyon, the developer put that in because the guy on the upper side is supposed to retain, so that was put in prior to them building the homes.
Okay, so currently he has a retaining wall behind his property.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
in selling to these builders, you're not limiting them to a 1-story, correct? If they want to build, okay.
No. That
Anything
answer
else you'd like to
everything?
add?
No, I appreciate everybody's patience and, oh, which,
Yours was about the view, correct?
well, I thought I addressed that by the elevations.
Mike, it's okay. We'll go ahead and handle that one. We get that one pretty much every meeting and about a view. So,
Sure.
Anybody want to handle that one, or do you want me to take it? I like to defer to Drew. He does it the best, but
Do you guys need anything else from me at all, or?
if you don't mind sitting on the front row just in case. Thanks. Drew, do you want to handle it?
Yeah, I'll be your guy. It is a hard one. We get this almost every meeting. Why certain developments even use the term and charge people more for view lots, I don't agree with it. Never have. In 28 years in this profession, I don't like it unless you have a gorge that nobody can build on. That should never be called. Well, it's not our fault. I'm just telling you what happens, and I'm trying to explain that to you, is that they should never be doing that, especially when there's a property behind, that can be developed. They should never promise you that it's a view lot. I'm just telling you just what facts are. And again, 28 years, I've heard it over and over, and I sympathize, but I can't go do anything about it. I can't stop them from doing that, what they did to you. Again, because they don't own that property and you don't own that property. You know what I'm saying? That's all we're trying to say is that it should never, and so. But again, we can't stop other developer, from doing stuff because somebody else promised somebody something. That's what it unfortunately comes down to, is that because Coral Canyon salespeople said that to you, I can't then stop everybody from not being able to develop or build on their property. We don't have the right to do that. And, you can feel bad, but again, it was taken advantage of at the time that it happened, and it shouldn't have, so. Well, I'd go talk to your county assessor is what I would do, and tell them what happened to you and just see what they can do. I don't know of any other recourse but other than go tell them what happened and what you did, and that, this shouldn't be that way. So again, I can only sympathize with what happens. So, I mean, you're one of hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are in the same shoes, in the same boat. That has happened. They were sold a view lot and they paid $7,000 or $8,000 more for it versus all the other lots. You should never been charged with that. So, so hopefully in the future, don't ever pay more for what a view lot unless you live on the edge of a gorge, and even then, don't think it's 100% that you're protected. But if it's an area that looks like it can be built on, eventually it will be built on. That's the best advice I can give after 28 years of being in planning, and so.
One of the things I want to add, if you feel that strongly about it, which you do, and you should, if I was in your shoes, I would take my paperwork and I would go back and I would find out why I had to pay more for a lot that doesn't have a view. Legally, you cannot protect your view. The one thing that's unfortunate in this situation, I'm sorry to cut you off, Drew, but that's bothering me, is that the city council in 1990-ish, whenever this was created a problem that now has come home to roost because they allowed something to be built around something. So if they want to build something within city standard in that colored section in the middle of Coral Canyon, legally they have a right to do that. We can't stop that, and that's unfortunate. It's not us. It would be incorrect for us to sit up here and say that we could do that. If I paid $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 for a view lot and I was promised a view, I would turn around and take that paperwork and go try to get it back. That's me personally, and we see it all the time. That's what's frustrating for us, because we understand. I live in Stookie Farms, 1-story homes. There are 2-story homes in Stookie Farms now. Fortunately, it didn't block me, but if it would have, I would have been in the exact same situation. But it didn't affect me. It happens regularly when there's ownership changes or whatever it might be. Again, this one is two different. It's not one subdivision. It's two different ones, and they're supposed to complement each other, but they don't have to. Legally, they don't. And that's what's hard for us. It's hard for city council. This is, in my opinion, it's obvious to me this is a problem that was created back in, I think you said around 1990. And here it is now. We're trying to figure out how to fix it. It would be incorrect for us to try to stop it based on views, for sure. I'm from San Diego, and views is a very hot item there. Anytime somebody builds something, hey, you block my view of the ocean. So we became very familiar with what you legally can and can't do. Doesn't help, but it's not for us this evening to ask for the views to be protected, I guess is the best way. And you guys want to add anything to that as well? Because I know we get it a lot, and so you have comments as well.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I had a kind of a new thought that I hadn't really thought about, because I know this comes up very often. But I've been here my whole life and can remember when Coral Canyon came in, and there were those few houses that Pete mentioned. And I couldn't help but think, what did they think when these people's lots were built? When this whole new subdivision, when there was 2 or 3 homes that were like out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden this whole community comes in and encroaches upon their view. So that kind of changes the perspective a little bit.
I think view is kind of an action word for sales, and I feel bad about that. It's like junk. To some people, it's junk. Some people, it's treasure. So I think view kind of goes in that same category, because some people don't care about that view. So, but it's just an action word.
Was it Brian? Brian, if you paid extra for your lot, same thing. I would give you the same advice, to turn around and go back and find out why somebody charged you more for something they can't protect. I am familiar with subdivisions in our city and neighboring cities that the view is protected within that HOA. Within the documents there, it's spelled out clearly in multiple different paragraphs and pages. The only difference there is that's one community where they're not going to be blocked because it's on a hill, and the view is, they're not going to block it from each other. But in this case, I hope you understand the dilemma that everybody's in at this point. And it's not your fault. It's not our fault. This was created a while back with Coral Canyon coming into this situation, and now trying to unwind it and fix it. I don't know if there is a fix, but I'll tell you what I'll do. Before you say anything, I'll let you come up here and I'll give you about 2 minutes, but I want you to be respectful because I don't think you have been to this point, and yet I think you're doing it to the wrong body at the wrong time and the wrong comments. So if you want to come up here, I've never done this before. I'm not supposed to. Probably come, get on me before, but I want to hear what you have to say because I want to see if you can really make a point that can't be shut down on why we're doing what we're doing. Go ahead, and please state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name's Brian Yuri. Apologies for the interruptions earlier. Would you mind scrolling down to the south of the Crabtree residence, please? We've heard from the stormwater protection team, this is required based on the plans that were submitted. I'm curious what the elevation changes of lots 21, 22. Everyone here is ground level elevation changes. So I'd love to show you a photo just how tall.
Hey, Brian, if you want to get this on the record, you got to do it in the microphone. So when you went up there, just repeat.
So again, lots 21, 22, 23, and 24. My question would be, what is the ground elevation change planned for those? And is the stormwater detention wall required because of the planned elevation change? And if we could adjust that so that these homes were not so high, would we still need the stormwater detention?
So
Sorry, I just want to use all my 2 minutes. The other concern, I think, is not necessarily the view. I think that's the defense that's been chosen. But the fact that the homes are being raised and then we're allowing any type of style home to be built here. If this city were to pass, or if this commission were to pass on the recommendation that the homes be limited so that they match the style of the area, then that would solve the view problem immediately.
They're matching the style of the area that they own. That's the hard part. So, but I appreciate your time. That's what I would say to that, Commissioner Bullock.
So we can't, the elevations are lower. The pad elevation is lower than the existing elevation that's already there. You can see that. No, it's not.
There's temporary dirt there that's all getting moved out.
So they're going to cut it down. So the pad elevation on 23 is 3088. The 3090 on 23 is existing elevation right now. So they're cutting that down 2 feet to put a pad. Well, Crabtree's a different story.
That's what I'm saying. So lot 21 and 22 are the same elevation as the Crabtree house. The Crabtree house is on the 20-foot basin compared to the surrounding area. And they're bringing all of those pads up to the same elevation in order to then.
We don't know. It doesn't show us the elevation. But the problem is they're cutting and filling like they need to. That's the most economical way. Everybody keeps saying, oh, they're building these lots up, they're building these lots up. They're not, they're cutting and filling to minimize their costs to put these homes in. That would be my best explanation, because nobody wants to truck in that much dirt to make a lot.
It's not trucking it in and even pushing from the other face up there.
But
We're trying to keep it as a minimum. We're not importing anything.
But we can't, I don't feel like we should tell property owners what to do on their property. If it's within the city code and the city, I mean, this isn't a PUD or a planned community development. There's nothing, we can't make them put a park in. This is a straight subdivision. This is not Coral Canyon. It's not, and if they elect to match the other Burke Springs, then that's nice. We would like that. But we have no right to tell them they have to match it.
Commissioner Bullock, thanks. I appreciate your comments. Commissioners, anything else before I entertain a motion on this item? Or any questions for staff? I'll entertain a motion on this item, number 4A.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I make a motion to pass this along with a recommendation for approval of the Burke Springs Phase 3 subdivision located approximately Crimson Creek Drive and Rimview Drive, with the 2 findings and the 12 conditions.
This Shield, I'd second that.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Bullock. I've got a second by Commissioner Shield. At this time, individual voting, Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Bullock,
Aye.
Tupou,
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Item number 4A will be sent to City Council with our recommendation for approval, and the notes from this meeting will be available to them to read as well as watching on video, and one of the City Council members is here in attendance. We're going to take about a minute. If anybody is no longer going to be attending this meeting, you can clearly all stay if you'd like to, but we're going to move on to the next item, number 5A. I'll give just a couple of minutes. If anybody needs to leave, they can.
We'll also have, just while we're doing this, staff is asking that 5A actually be tabled. It got put through a little too quickly. Now, you did a general plan amendment a couple weeks back. Because of the extra week in August, it kind of messed things up a little bit. So City Council's actually going to hear that general plan amendment next week and vote on it. So we really can't do anything. We're just asking to have it tabled. So is anybody here for 5A? Well, you're the applicant, so I don't really care.
So is
Anybody
this-
else for 5A?
Is this the pool or is this a house or something? What's
Well,
this
it
one?
has to do with, because of a pool, they're having to do a zone change. But
Okay.
again, so I'm asking that the commission just table this for 2 weeks and the public hearing, the whole item, so that council can vote on it next week. And again, that's staff's, we messed up. We apologize for that. But because notices went out, we had to have it on the agenda, just asking it to be tabled because we shouldn't entertain looking at it until.
You
the
want a
council-
motion?
Yes,
Or a-
please. Do a motion now and then take
Okay.
your break.
This is Shill. I would move that we table item 5A, the public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council for the zone change from open space. I'm just going to say it's located approximately Wild Horse Ridge and Desperado Drive.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
All right, I got a first and a second. All in favor to motion item 5A?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5A is,
We moved it to 2
Tabled.
weeks, right?
Oh,
Was that
yeah,
in the
you need to
motion?
amend- Yeah, I don't
Do we
think it
have it?
was, but let's go and amend your motion real quick, and then whoever's second, just vote. I need to have a date, so go to the 21st.
Okay, I move that
Just say I'm going to amend, I would like to amend my
end
motion
this
and add.
motion
Yeah.
to be heard on September
21st.
21st instead of tonight.
Okay. And who was the second?
Second.
And you're okay with that?
Commissioner Tupou, yes.
Okay, just ask them to vote again real quick.
excellent. A vote again on that. All in favor of that item being tabled until the 21st?
Aye.
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 All right, it is done. Item 5A, tabled to the 21st.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
Did you want to take a short recess real quick?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to adjourn this meeting for 3 minutes. If anybody would like to use the restroom, get water, anything you need, we'll do so, and we'll reconvene in 3 minutes. Thanks. All right, Melody, are you back in action and hear me okay? Yeah, sorry, that was a long 3 minutes. I clearly can't count. Okay, Melody, can you hear me okay? Yeah. We're going to assume she is, that she can hear me okay. We're going to start on item number 5B. This is a public hearing for consideration recommendation to the City Council for a zone change request Z-22-19 from RA2 to a PUD commercial. Lot 2 of Jolly Farms Minor, located approximately 840 South, 100 East. The applicant is Ken Jolly and Sue and Travis Gates. I'll turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you, Commissioners. The applicant, as stated, is requesting approval of a zone change of approximately 3.54 acres. The property is, as stated, located approximately at 840 South, 100 East. The requested change is from the current residential agricultural 2-acre minimum to a proposed plan unit development commercial zoning. The PUDC request is for the purpose of developing the acreage into a storage unit facility in the form of a main office of 1,200 square feet at the entrance, then 357 storage units in a variety of sizes, as per you can see on the exhibits. Some units will be entered in from the outside and others will be entered internally through the interior hallways. There will also be an outdoor vehicle storage as well as part of this project. There was also provided sufficient landscape plan shown in the exhibits. The office elevations and finishes are attractive for the area. The project appears to be of value to the city. The surrounding zoning to the proposed development is RA2 to the north and south, industrial to the west, and R16 to the east. The parking provided meets the city code for the project. A block wall will surround the development on the north, east, and south sides. And then there will be a wrought iron fence system put in that will be along the street frontage as, again, security for the project. They'll have associated entrance and exit gates will be provided on that wrought iron fencing. Staff is supportive of the project at the location, with the building layout and exterior finishes being aesthetically attractive. The amenities are sufficient and will be a value to the city, a value to the project and to the city. Staff would like to therefore recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Z-22-19 for the zone change request from the current residential agricultural 2-acre minimum, or the RA2 zoning designation, to the proposed zoning of plan unit development commercial, PUDC, and that will be on to the City Council and based on the findings and subject to the conditions in your report. I will just kind of scroll through. We'll take a look at all the exhibits for everybody here and kind of talk about each one before we go into discussion. Some of them, so here's your outside of the, the street frontage on the office. They'll be associated there. So fitting for the area, you have the horse roping arena across the street with the Larsons, and all still the open fields with the rest of the family that has down there. So this is just interior structure, how it's built. Not that you'll be voting on that because you don't really care, I hope. Maybe you do. This just kind of shows from the whole street perspective of the wrought iron in relationship to the office. And then you can kind of see some of the units there starting on that right-hand side. So here's the color scheme. So you'll have the red doors. There will be a black stripe in the blocking itself. It'll be the, why can't I remember the, I'm drawing a blank. The rough looking block is what it is. I can't believe, split face, thank you. I knew the contract. I don't know why. I used that term 5 times earlier today with somebody else. Split face will be on there, and so which will kind of give a pop with the rest of it. I really like when they mix those in. And this just kind of shows you views of all, around the perimeter of what those block walls will be on that north, east, and south, and then you can see the units beyond them. Again, more elevations on the building. Here's all of them, not colored, but just the four different perspectives of the office. And then the landscaping out front, which I appreciate what they've done. Again, we don't encourage grass, just so you know, we're, as a city, trying to peel back on that. So be more conservative on our water, et cetera. So I don't see any there, which is good. And then that's just staff review. So now I'll be glad to answer any questions that the commissioners might have on this particular zone change.
All right, commissioners, I'll open the floor for any questions for staff.
Is there a residence here for an on-site manager, or is it?
I did not see one because it's a single floor, right? And that's all it is. It just looks to be appearing to be bigger. But are you putting a loft up there of any kind? It's just design and look. Okay. Yeah, so it's just office on office only.
Why am I thinking, there was a comment or an email or something that came out about the storage units being in industrial? What was that? Does anybody remember what I'm referring to, or what document that was, or what was
Wasn't
that?
it
Yeah, I thought.
a city ordinance that changed to put storage units in industrial only?
Right, it is. And so technically, though, this was zone PUD, general plan PUD. So even with that, we can change it to, because if you go to the PUD commercial, it also says permitted in PUD commercial is commercial and industrial. So when you read our PUD ordinance itself, so that's why, we entertain taking in those, on that, because it is a PUD. So, and again, being real technical about it, I've got industrial that's kitty corner from this. It's in an area that's got a lot of industrial, and is taking place in the area. So if it was sticking out a bunch of commercial, we might be more hesitant. But because of its location, I think it should be and could be very well entertained just because of surrounding properties.
Drew,
and
can
uses.
you pull up the map and show us the general
City map?
plan? Yeah, that one, and show us the general plan for that, or the zoning and the
Well, and what's around?
the other zone. No, I mean, he knows the map I'm thinking of.
Okay, here's the property. If you see my arrow, right? This one we're talking about, and then we'll click on.
It's not the one further down? In
No,
the
it's
blue?
right. It's right here.
Okay.
And so, is it your brother that's keeping the piece on the north, with has the farming, stuff in it, and the corrals and stuff? And this is the piece we're talking about, this rectangle right here. And again, you can see directly across the street, I'm zoned industrial. So that's why I think it's fine and fitting, because again, my PUD does allow for commercial and industrial in that vein. So I can see why someone, because we did just took storage units out of the commercial zones and said they need to be industrial zones. So, but that's, strictly for the commercial, we don't allow it. This is PUD. And
What's the blue below it?
blue is general plan. This is a general plan designation. It's called business. It's like for business parks, which are in your industrial. Now they may come and change this to something else, but right now, again, this is fitting for what we're asking for, I think. It's not out of line due to the fact that I have business, is actually for nobody has a zoning of the business park. It's in our code, but we don't have anywhere in the city, but that's what that's designated for, is for business park, which is found in our industrial zoning. you know, the uses within a business park are found in Chapter 11, which is for industrial. So I hope that helps make sense of that, where we're at on that.
Yeah, and I don't think I have any objections on location. I was just for some reason hung up on that, whatever that document was stating that storage units were going to be in industrial, and then we're changing this to commercial, and I guess that's why I was.
Well, we call it PUD commercial, but when you go and look in the PUD commercial permitted uses, it talks about commercial developments, industrial developments, and gives all those different options. So
In that same vein, it seems that when this goes to city council, it's really up, they're going to have to determine on this last economic development point in our staff report at the very end, the project flow card. That's really city council to decide, right? How many developments like this that they want to allow, because we are going to be, I guess when we went through that, like Cody was saying, that was like a big thing about generating sales tax, different areas in the city and trying to maximize that. This is a great project, seems fine, the area is fine and all that, and I get that. But really, that's what city council is going to have to decide. Is that correct?
yeah, they are. And this gets back to the point, you know, because at the end, I went through that in my mind. I sat there and thought, well, we just went through and did an ordinance that took them out of the commercial. I don't see this area. I don't get a vibe, you know, as your city community development director, this is really commercial area. It really hasn't, since I've been here, it's either, you know, it's going to be industrial or business park. And so I still think it kind of fits that, just due to the fact that where it's at. Now, if they would have asked to do this, say on Telegraph or something, I would have been more resistant around, you know, within commercial developments themselves. And they wanted to just kind of use this as a way in, so to speak, or come through the back door on trying to get storage units back in a commercial area. I would have been, I'm not so keen on that. But because of across the street, I have zone now. Again, this is general plan. Let's go to your zoning. And again, here's the parcel right here. So this is hard zoning of light industrial in this purple. We haven't touched this. This has been always, you know, this family and all the extended family, right, own all that area. Is that the Kirtlands, or south of you? And so the Kirtlands, you know, which is a family trust, are south right down here. And so we've just kind of left that, but it, you know, general plan is business to kind of push it towards. I think it'd be a great business park in that area, to be honest with you, where its location is next to industrial and having the river, you know, the Mill Creek separate it. I'd love this to be a gorgeous business park in there, and you know what I'm talking about.
It's coming.
Okay, good. Because that's what we need, I think, is more of a really nice business park, and I can't think of a better place than right there on the Kirtlands land, just south of this project we're talking about today. So hopefully that kind of helps you. Again, I only went forward with this because I think location, you know, I hate to use that term, you know, location, but that drives a lot how, and the surrounding uses around it. So that's why I wasn't so hesitant, you know, to put this in this direction and go that way.
Is this blocking anybody's view?
I was wondering who was going to do it.
Well, no.
I didn't have to. Thank you.
I just had to say I had to feel a little better about myself. Like a year and a half, 2 years ago, didn't we see something come through that was in this same
This is
area?
it. They did a general plan. It's just been a
That's
while
it.
to get it all to this point.
Okay.
They actually asked for industrial, you know, to go in there originally, but then it ended up that the council gave them PUD
Yeah.
just to go that
There were
direction.
people that came in that lived in those homes. And I remember them talking with us.
Yeah, so that's why they wanted to go PUD, so they could see what the project will look like.
Yeah.
And that's why the council said, okay, we'll go with PUD because this was even before we took storage units out of commercial.
Yeah.
You know, they've always been in the industrial side, but we just took them out of commercial because we felt it was taking up good commercial properties on some of our main drags. So,
Drew, if you zoom in a little bit right there to the right of, it's on the other side of the 840 South. Is that just dead ending? Is it not going to? Because
it's dead ending. You don't need, I know where you're going with that. It was master planned at one point to come through and tie over to Costco area. but that's been changed.
It's up on Foothills
In
Drive
fact,
now, correct?
I think we might even have, it's up on Foothill.
That's what I thought.
That's
I mean,
the one
'cause
that's going across
go through that other
that other development you guys just looked at. That's
Okay,
right.
that's
So
what I was-
840
When I saw that, I was confused for a
We
second.
stubbed it like this because back when that development over here, went in, that was always the plan that we would cross the creek here, come over, then tie in over into, and then have a road that ends up taking over to the Costco intersection right there through the Sandberg's property, et cetera. But things change. And so the new transportation, I think it's not on here anymore. Yeah, you can see it's not even lit up.
Okay.
But I will pull down and you'll see it show up here on Foothill. And so there it is right there.
That red one right there is the connector that goes over to
Yes.
Foothill.
And then we'll take that over into St. George by Costco on the backside.
And the blue one's going to tie into.
Yes, and Main Street will come down. Actually, we're probably going to have Main Street T right here now is the plan. We're not going to take this blue line. Will probably not happen down here where my arrow's going. It's going to T. It'll run into right here. I'll kind of drag it down a little bit. You can see. So Main Street will just come and T right there, and it'll be a right or left. Then you'll come over and go that direction. Now they can get back on First right here and head down south. So anyway, there you go. Any other questions I can answer for you? Or
So are these two separate parcels? That one right there and then the one below it, right?
well, right now did you haven't broken them off yet, right? Did we do it too long? Okay, oh, it's back down here a little farther. Okay. Yeah, actually, we've done a 2-lot minor on this already through the city. You guys looked at it a month or so ago, now that I think about it. A conceptual design, you probably won't remember, it was just 2 lots, and we said it's in preparation for a zone change that's coming. But Eldon assured me that went through and has been recorded, so there is I'm surprised the county doesn't have it on here yet, because they're usually fast on that stuff, but, so it's about right here. Anything else, commissioners, initially? This is a public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If anybody here in the chamber would like to speak to this item, please come forward. State your name for the record. And I do not see anybody. I will go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Any other questions for staff or even the applicant?
What are the exterior walls on the north, the east, and the south? What are they constructed of? And how tall are they?
CMU 6, they had a
Is that
design.
what it was? The CMU with the 6 foot tall CMU wall?
I'll find that one real quick for you. Because it kind of showed, that was when I told you, it kind of showed the one wall and then
I have it right here.
this one right here.
Road facing one.
Oh, you mean the other walls?
So they kind of gave you, here's what that wall looks like. Well, it's smooth though, right? This is split face, but I don't think it needs to be split face around there. It's too decorative in between properties, so it's smooth.
We're going to do the split on the very front where it goes wrought iron, and then those corners, it's actually going to be the split where it faces.
Okay, but all those other 3 walls around the perimeter will all be smooth face. It'll look like this, but in smooth. Okay. I have a question for the applicant. And I'm sorry to have you come up, but I really want to know this because could you put your name or state your name for the record in the microphone? But I'm curious on the design of the building itself. It must be strategic of why it's only really 1 story of use, that you don't want to take advantage of that upper floor of putting something up there, even for storage?
My name's Sue Gates. This is Travis. We were going to do an apartment, kind of a live area, and then we just decided it's just not going to be worth it. And So it's just more of a vaulted look. So it's the windows up there will just be a vault. There's no upstairs.
Are you building it to where in the future you could do it, you could retrofit it to put something up there, or is it just straight out
Not the
never gonna
plan.
never gonna be there?
No, that's not the plan. It's just a look, just to
Yeah.
give it the barn look and kind of a country feel type.
Yeah, looks nice. No kids coming home, they're gonna say, "Hey, I want to live up there."
They wanted to, and we
Okay,
started
see?
that way, but we changed it. And LJ is actually after my great grandpa. He started the farm, so we just kind of wanted to honor him and.
Okay, cool. I just thought it would have been cool, but if you guys don't want it, you don't want it.
We
I get
started
it.
that, but then.
Well, I know, but let me just throw this to you because it has to be part of your zoning if you're going to do it. Even though you may not want to do it now, it's probably, sounds like, and I would offer that too, is to include it, to have it permission to do it at a future date. Then you don't have to come back and do it.
We do that.
They can just put it in their motion.
No, but well, maybe
Okay, go
let's do
ahead.
it. I mean,
I'm just saying
Yeah, that
because
would be
it's
safe.
it's not uncommon to have that. And
can
again,
ask
I
for it,
appreciate your commissioners, thinking about that, because
Yeah.
I would put it, you may never use it, but if you need it,
It's already in.
because again, security, after a while, you may think, darn, I wish we had somebody living there. Then you can come back and retro and do what you might need to do, even if it's a staircase on the outside for a 1-bedroom studio, for someone to live there and be a security for you. It's worth having them, asking them to put it in as a motion.
Or just build it, put it in now.
Well,
Yeah.
it seems like some of the reasons why we didn't put it in now is with some of the fire
Sprinkler-
restrictions and things like
sprinkling
that,
system and-
sprinklers. I mean, there was a few things that the fire chief was telling us about. And I know we could go in and do that eventually with the fire sprinklers, because they can retrofit those. And, but, no, we just thought, I mean, cost was getting up there, and we just wanted to keep this look, and so.
What's the square footage? What is the requirement for this fire
It's
sprinkler?
1,200, the bottom floor is 1,200 square, it's 30 by 40, basically, is what it is. That's what it doesn't really say, but I just went and did some measuring with existing other things they showed, and I come up with around 1,200 square feet, so.
Yeah, we actually
by
had
40,
that
so.
top floor all designed with a studio apartment and a kitchen, and
Yeah.
then it just kind of got hard.
But like I say, get it in your zoning, even though you may not put it now.
Okay,
Just because you have it in there, it doesn't mean you have to build it.
okay,
But if you have it in there and need it later, then you're good to go.
that would be
If
awesome.
that's what this commission wants, I don't want to speak for you.
No, if we
You know,
could
the
do
group.
that.
As long as naming rights are on the table, the Hanson Hideaway upstairs would be good.
Hey, will you rent them out
I think
and
that-
secure the system?
Yeah, you can, it's your property, you can do what you want. I encourage you to do it exactly for those reasons. He's much more eloquent than I am, but it just seems you just never know. This thing may be sold to somebody in the future that wants to do it and they can't, and then it creates a problem for us. So we might as well leave that open-ended.
We
Maybe not.
almost felt like it was more negative coming from the city to have it. That's why we
Yeah,
kind of
well,
nixed it, but
I'm trying to not create that orange area in the middle of the other areas. Like we saw earlier, that 15 years from now, someone wants to do
Review.
something here and you guys are not here and we're like, what? So that's all.
okay,
Entirely
thank you.
up to you. Commissioners, any other questions? It appears there are not any, but if there are, please ask. If not, we'll look for a motion on this item. And I would suggest in the motion that we, Drew, how do we want to word that? That we allow,
Just add a condition, yeah, just say that, and we'd like to add condition 10 that, what do we call it, on-site? I'll
Allow
tell
an
you
apartment.
exactly. Well, there's a term, we might as well use the term. Just give me caretaker facility, thank you. You're right on. Caretake, just say condition 10 to allow for a future caretaker, associated with the office. That's how, that's if you, so
does anybody object to that up here? Like,
I think it's a good idea.
I don't object to it. I worry that we set a precedence of more storage units coming into a commercial zone. I see this as being kind of a backdoor, but where it is a PUDC, we do not have to approve storage units, correct?
no, you don't.
We don't have to approve this for a PUDC.
No, you
correct?
don't. You could
But-
just say, because
so-
we have a conflicting thing, but that's totally up to you guys. Like I say,
So I hate descriptive. I like the looks of it. I think it's amazing. I think it fits the area. It'll look nice. I worry about the cars being stored out there, outside without, I mean, people are going to want covered storage for their cars, I believe. It's not my place to make that decision for them, but where the fence is up and we won't be able to see the cars, that's a better thing. I'd hate to see cars as you're driving by just parked out there, or these will more than likely be RV spots, would be my guess, is people parking their RVs out here, which is needed. But I mean, I feel like we're pushing the limit with where we just told no storage units in the commercial area, but with this, I feel better about it, but I just don't want to set a precedence so that everybody comes in and does that, tries to pull a fast one on us, because there's too many nice places in the city that are getting storage units on them. No offense to the storage units, but I feel like they're everywhere. I'm okay with this one, but I feel like it needs to be said that we can't keep going after we just made to not do that anymore.
I told Sheila the same thing. I said I feel like it's kind of a loophole in the
Right.
what we had gone through with the city. But then I look at what you said, where it's going, Drew, and I agree. I mean,
It is a nice. I believe it'll make a nice buffer from the business park to the residents above them,
And the retail going over.
and then going back towards over the river. I mean, I believe it'll be good. Now, the one above is not a PUD as well, is it?
no, this is staying, this is her brother's keeping this piece and will continue to do what he's doing there.
But the zone change we did was not for that piece, correct? It was the minor subdivision and then the lower one.
Right, this will remain RA2 up here, and it'll just be this area through here that'll be the,
Which across the street is RA, or the Posse grounds and all that are RA or estate lots, correct?
yeah, well, the Posse grounds is kitty corner from this. You can see it's up here.
Right. That's what I'm saying though, is
Yeah.
from where the existing home is to the Posse grounds is estates or RA.
It's RA1
Okay.
up here.
Yeah, but they're okay. So, I mean, it's a good buffer. I'm okay with it. I just want to not set a precedence that we're going to let more of these go in. Just because after we did, I was the one that said, I think we should quit putting them in commercial areas because we're giving it prime real estate, but this makes sense.
So I'm going to ask this question, and I feel like because I'm still new, can I still use that? What is the economic disadvantage to a storage unit versus some other type of commercial?
No sales
Sales
No
tax.
sales tax, period. So basically, there's not a city benefit to the storage unit other than maybe
Increase the property value somewhat.
increase the property value and give citizens a place to store junk that might otherwise be gathered up on their property.
Yeah, so the property will be taxed at 100%. There won't be a resident, because your fees if you're a resident are half or whatever it is. So they'll pay 100% tax on it.
Yeah. So the comment about giving up prime commercial. Yeah. So we're giving up potential revenue for the city.
For the sales tax, but we're getting more in the property tax side for the schools.
But will you really get a retailer over there?
But see, this is
Right.
the point when I look at the purple and the blue, that's not commercial. It's that blue
it's
is
industrial.
that blue is the most least of the harsh of industrial uses. When I say business park, that means it's not, business parks aren't commercial by any means. Now, you may have someone who manufactures something in there and, maybe does custom shirts, and then screening for it, and then people can come in and buy it, But other than that, business park right now, without a general plan amendment, it's light, super light industrial. And-
It'll be like the industrial and 1000 East, that corner, those corner lots it'll be buildings like those. hopefully
Even
on a
down
bigger
here?
scale.
I don't even see them being that. I mean, business park is even not that harsh. It's not automotive repair. It's not, there's some harsh, there's some harsh uses in this development right here. And I'm only saying that I've got a guy in there that cuts granite. That's not business park even. That's industrial.
So
I've got a
what-
cremator in there. Where they take bodies to
It's hot.
take them down, things like that. So.
What would go into, do we know what will go into business park?
Business parks are like your R&D companies. Okay. It can be tech companies that build, computer pieces, like
RAM?
wafers and things like that. It goes in R&D, research and development, places like that build something very minute, that's out of stuff. Very, very light manufacturing, but it's mostly, more high-tech stuff as your business park uses.
I'm just trying to think of where a business park is that I can wrap my head around to.
Well, out by, where the Salt Lake City Airport is,
I mean,
right?
down here.
Oh, down here. They're trying to do the old airport. Tech Ridge is kind of trying to be that. I haven't been up there for a while, so I don't want to misspeak, but that's what Tech Ridge is supposed to be all about. Educational, other things that are very, more tech driven up there, and they're not commercial, but they fall in like what you would call business park, and that's what that development is trying to be up there.
So would it be like? Okay, no, that
There's not really many other places down here. I wish I could use them now. If I could take you to the Bay Area, flooded with more what's business park, where all the Intel and those guys, their kind of businesses are in business parks.
Would it be
Santa Clara.
similar to Riverside Drive, like Barefoot Gymnastics, Red Cross? I'm just visualizing.
that's more commercial. I
That's
think.
more commercial, but it's getting closer towards business park. But again, if you're familiar with the Salt Lake Airport area, to the west of the airport, if you go past it a little bit, there's some massive business parks out in that area, just down from the Great Salt Lake. And but you may have never been there. Usually, if you're ever going in the Salt Lake to the airport, you're going to the airport and that's it. But if you just go past it, there's some great examples of what business parks are. They're big, open, flat areas, nice landscaping generally, parking areas for employees, a little bit bigger buildings. But again, it's not smoke and smells and noises, but things are happening inside. It's more tech stuff. And business parks are usually I love business parks. Wish we had some down here. So get working on that.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I was just kind of trying to figure out where everything
Get a
was.
Trader Joe's, we'll get some, right?
But again, that's the only area in our city we've got in that blue. And that's what we were just kind of hoping maybe in the future it goes to that. And again, I can't think of a better place generally right next to all this industrial, part of St. George's industrial that comes over, meets ours. And then this would be a great transition over to 300 East, Washington Fields Road and everything, and then into the park. So again, that's why I kind of was more palatable to me to go that direction, just because of the surrounding. So, but again, I know where you're coming from. I went through the same heartburn a little bit. So.
Can I make a motion? How about if I make a move? I would move that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Z-22-19 for the zone change request from the current residential agricultural 2-acre minimum RA2 zoning designation to the proposed zoning of planned unit development, commercial PUD-C, onto the city council based on the 2 findings, the 9 conditions, and add 1 condition that we would suggest, should I say it that way, or that they have that they would be allowed to have a caretaker facility in their office area.
At any point in time. At any point in time.
At any point in time. in the future.
It's Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
Got a motion by Commissioner Shield. I've got a second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Shield.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Hanson, I'm an aye as well. The motion passes. We'll send that City Council with our recommendation for approval. Thank you, Sue and Travis. Appreciate it. We'll move to item number 6A. This is also a public hearing and consideration to approve a conditional use permit C-22-10 for signage height for a convenience store gas station located at 990 West Buena Vista Boulevard. The applicant is Maverick Incorporated. Turn the time over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Commissioners. The applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to extend the maximum height limit of a new construction sign located at the address previously stated. City ordinance allows for signs to be 35 feet tall in the C2 and 3C zoning designations, with the exceptions of those properties that are within 1,500 feet of the freeway exit, which they can apply with a conditional use to go up to a maximum of 50 feet. And that's what this application is proposing. The property described in this application is approximately 300 feet from the freeway and is asking for the maximum height amount of 50 feet, as detailed in the exhibit, and which sits in the southeast corner of the property. The existing Chevron sign that is there will be removed. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve C-22-10, allowing an extension of the maximum allowable sign height as shown in the exhibits with the findings and conditions outlined below. And I do just want to note on the record, the sign does show electronic reader for pricing. Condition number 3 just outlines the requirements for electronic readers, auto dimming, no flashing, and I'll just ask the applicant to familiarize themselves with that to be in line with city code. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
This is Commissioner Bullock. What is the height of the existing Chevron sign? Do we know?
35. Did you say?
It
I would say it's taller.
Oh, is that?
How tall is it?
66.
It's actually taller than what this will be.
So this is going to be shorter?
Yes.
Oh, all right, cool.
How'd they get that? 60.
Pre everything is all I'll tell you. It's been there. It's been there that long.
Yeah, 1990.
And even before, I think it's older than that, to be honest with you. I bet it's back in 1980s. There you go. The city historian. That's right.
We may need to have a memorial when that sign goes
Grandfather
down.
that.
That answered every question I had, what we just exchanged right there, so. Commissioners, any additional questions for staff before I open this to a public hearing? All right, thanks, Eldon. I'll open this up to a public hearing. Is there anybody here in the chamber that'd like to speak to this item? All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Commissioners, I'll open the floor for any additional questions. I'll look for a motion on item number 6A.
Commissioner Tupou, I'll make a motion. This is Commissioner Tupou, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of C-22-10, request for a conditional use permit for an extension to the maximum allowable sign height located at 990 West Buena Vista Boulevard, with the four conditions, 4 findings and the 3? There's
Well, it
2
should be
threes on
4.
here.
Yeah, it should be
4,
4.
and the 4 conditions in the staff report.
Does Eldon's comments need to be a condition that's added? That the applicant become familiar with the,
It's already in there, right? You put
It's
it
in
as the, it's one of your conditions, I
All right,
think,
thanks.
already, so.
Illumination.
It's 3-3.
Ms. Shield, I second.
all right, I have a motion by Commissioner Tupou. I have a second by Commissioner Shield. Individual voting, Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Bullock,
Aye.
Tupou,
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. This motion passes this item. We do not send this to City Council for approval, is my understanding. Okay. Item 6A passes for a conditional use permit. Thank you. We'll move to item number 7A. This is a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council to amend a portion of Title IX, Chapter 16, off-street parking on the Washington City zoning regulations. I'll turn the time over to staff for the report.
You really want to put us through this?
What everybody's been waiting for tonight, right? Yeah, anyway,
Approved.
we'll kind of get started.
Make a motion. Approve it.
Washington City is wishing to amend a portion of the city code by amending Title 9, Chapter 16, Section 5, number of parking spaces, and 91612, guest parking requirements for multifamily developments. Those 2 sections are what we're talking about tonight. City's been needing to adjust the required parking spaces for multifamily developments for quite some time to address parking shortages under the current standards. This amendment is to change the calculation method determining the minimum number of parking stalls for multifamily projects throughout the city. Staff is wishing to propose the following changes to Chapter 16, Section 5 and 12. In Section 5, the number of parking stalls. Currently, right now, when you look under hotels, motels, and motor hotels, it actually says that, or motor hotels. It used to include 2, 3, 4, and other multifamily dwellings. We're wishing to strike that from the hotels, motels, and motor hotels and move it in with the category that's right below it, the single family. It just used to say single family dwellings. Now we want to say it's single family, 2, 3, 4, or other multifamily dwellings. So we're not changing anything within the wording, I don't think. Let me scroll or change pages. Yeah, so all the verbiage that's in that section that was existing up to till we get to the highlighted red area will stay that same, but we're going to add a second paragraph, so to speak, to that. And because basically in that top one, it talks about just single family and duplexes. Have to have, this is what the requirement is, a covered parking stall and a non-covered. You can have them both covered, but it requires 2. One has to be covered, the other one can be open, and that's kind of what it says in that area already existing. Now we're going to add this new paragraph in the red. All other multifamily dwelling developments use the following chart to calculate required parking. So we go into any development that is, that has either all 1 bedroom, all 2 bedroom, all 3 bedroom, or a mix thereof. This is how the calculation will go. It used to be the old code said in a 1 bedroom, it was 1.1 parking stalls for, a 1 bedroom, 2 for a 2 bedroom, and 2 for a 3 bedroom. Staff is wishing to propose the following, that in the dwelling unit type, that for a 1 bedroom, the number of spaces required is 1.75. In 2 bedroom, it still stays 2.0, but the 3 bedroom goes up to 2.25 stalls per dwelling unit. Now, again, we're not making someone do a quarter of a stall. It's just based on if I come up with a quarter, that means you bump up to the next whole number. And it states that in the code already. So it's just for, when I have 33 of these particular units, you take 33 times by 2.25, you get that number. If there's a remainder, it goes up. So with that, that'll increase, again, the parking is needed. Every time we've been doing a multifamily project, it ends up going, you guys either feel uncomfortable with it, suggest they add more. The city council makes it actually part of their motion. They end up adding more. So they've been adding anywhere from 20 to 35 extra parking stalls on almost any of these multifamily projects. So we're trying to stay out of that so we don't feel like we're, because someone could come back and say, well, you only made this guy put in 19 extra ones, but you're making me do 28 and I only have 2 units. We want to stay out of that. And so we're wanting to change the standards. But again, you see a little note I put down here, and I probably should have put it in red, and I will for the city council. But so this little asterisk after the 3-bedroom, and I only did this because as I started going through all the calculations and stuff, I didn't want to end up having way too many parking stalls either. That's not what we're trying to accomplish, is having too many. So I put on this that this number may, and I need to add, be reduced to 2.0 when the development in a mix of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom or more bedroom units, as long as the number of 1-bedroom units is equal to or greater than the number of 3-bedroom units. Okay, because when I started doing the numbers, I found this offset, this weird thing that I tried playing with it by doing 1.63 on the 1-bedroom, or and it just was getting to be a nightmare and just looked goofy. So when I came back and just thought, well, if we have these 1-bedrooms and a bunch of 3-bedrooms, I can kind of help offset that to get kind of where the target I was trying to get to for the number of parking stalls, right? So I just started playing with it. When I found out if I had 1-bedroom units equal to the 3-bedroom, I could take that 0.25 off, and it actually put it more into the target I was trying to hit. And it worked out real well. So this is my proposal in that respect. So, but again, there's still, that's in section 5, the number there, okay? So this goes back to, I just took those projects they were adding extra parking stalls to, okay? And so I tried to come up with this chart that helped to get me to that point. And so I played with all the numbers, and this one worked out the best to get to that. It still is above what the council was even asking them, but not outrageously too far and too many. So it seemed to work out the best. Now, the other thing that we'll be changing is this section 12, guest parking requirements for multifamily developments. So here's where the visitor parking comes into play. When I first started here, it was 1 per 5, and it was not near enough at all. Then I'm trying to remember how many years ago it has to have been 8 to 10 years ago. We went and changed it to 3.5. Now again, this 3.0 now is going back into why I did that calculation. It kind of helped do that too, is now it'll be 1 visitor parking stall for every 3 units. And that's where we help offset and make up those things that, kind of get us to where I think we want to be and have sufficient parking for multifamily. So we're dropping from the 3.5 down to 3.0 in essence. Also, I came back and added this particular in red. It did not have this before. So let's pick up that sentence where, I'll get my arrow over here where it says this 4. That's where I'm going to pick up the reading. For developments that have units with personal driveways, a minimum of 20 feet in length and 18 feet in width. Here's the part I added and I'll explain why. In front of a 2-car garage. Because the problem I was having is if you had a extended 1-car garage, I don't think that, that kind of hurts us. So as long as they have a 2-car garage and it's a 2-car driveway, they can use up to 30% of those as part of goes toward their visitor parking. So in essence, you have a 2-car garage for 2 vehicles, 2 places in the driveway to get there. You have 4 spots. Now, our biggest thing that we tell people is, well, garages end up being storage units for a lot of people. Okay, so that's why it used to be 50%, and it didn't have the 2-car garage in front of it, and that cost me at times. They said, well, if I can still meet the 18 by whatever, I should be able to do that. And, in essence, they were kind of right, but it kind of defeated our purpose because I know that 1-car garage is definitely going to be a storage unit and they're going to be parking out in the driveway. But if I have a full 2-car garage, some people, at least, the mom or the wife's going to say, oh no, my car goes inside. Your truck, buddy, can stay outside. I'm just picking you scenarios, and we all know it's true because Pete's going, yep, that's how it is at my house. right? So I'm taking all those in the calculation here. So now we're going to give them, instead of 50% of those driveways, I felt like that might have been too much, but for 30% of them. So if I have 30 townhomes with 2-car garages, I'm going to give them at, a third of that would basically be 10. So they can, if their visitor parking for the whole project was 50 overall, they only have to put 40 of them out there amongst the other 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedrooms, because I'm going to let them use 10 of those driveways as a possible to count for their visitor parking. So that's the changes that are being proposed. And again, this gets down to the fraction thing, Commissioner, if it's at this, we're going to go up and down. It's kind of built in there. That's just for the visitor parking. I'm not doing that on the other. I'm just bumping it up. So with that said, just give you my recommendation, then we can get into the discussion. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval for the proposed amendment to the zoning regulations by amending portions of Title 9, 16.5, number of parking stalls, and Title 9, 16.12, guest parking requirements for multifamily developments, and that would be on to the City Council. I'll be glad to answer any questions, because I know this is a topic we can spend a ton of time on, or 5 minutes.
So a personal driveway is a single driveway, one driveway, or one, is that right?
Well, the driveway has to be the minimum of 18 feet wide and 20 foot deep in front of, you have to have all of it,
Okay,
front of a 2-car garage.
so they're all 20 feet in length then.
Pretty much, because that's the setback, we make them do that, so they're at a minimum of 20.
But this is only going to apply for multi-family units, like
Because that's the only place we require visitor parking,
visitor. It's only where visitor parking is. So it's not like we're going to have an issue.
not a subdivision.
It's not a subdivision. I mean, they have to have 2 parking lots for each home in a subdivision.
Right. You have to
Doesn't
have a
matter how
covered
many
and an
homes.
uncovered in a
Right.
residential development.
Okay, yeah, I'm totally fine with this.
I only have 2 thoughts. One of them is the D.R. Horton subdivision in Long Valley. Are any of those homes single extended garages, like you mentioned? We don't really have a lot of them around here, but I remember some of those were very narrow homes that went
Right.
back.
And no, I think they're all 2-car garages. Oh, there is a couple singles, but again, they have a lot of extra parking though, right?
But they're
Yeah,
not
we made them.
extended?
They're outside. Yeah.
Okay. And then my second, and I don't know this for my own curiosity's sake, on that, the part where you could reduce it to 2.0 instead of 2.25 on if they have more 1-bedrooms equal to or greater than 3 bedrooms, that section?
Yeah. So let's just, I'm going to take a 60 unit development, and it's a mix of 1, 2s, and 3s. They can only drop this down if they're proposing 17 3-bedroom units, they have to have at least 17 or greater 1-bedrooms to drop from the 2.25 to 2.0.
So here's my question is, what made you not consider just leaving it at 2.25 and oversubscribe on parking? Is there a downside to that? Having too much parking? Is there something we're trying to avoid by having that?
Yeah, because again, with the cost of land and everything else, having to buy land for parking stalls, I'm just trying to help get to where we need to be, but not going like the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah.
That's the best example I can give you is the Walmart parking lot out there where the gas place used to be, but they took out. The only thing you ever see in there is people parking their RVs trying to, get away with an overnight parking. But again, because they met the parking standards, but here you have.
That's an oversubscription.
That's an oversubscription. And that's why I'm just using that as, even though it's not multifamily, but it's the best example I can give you of if we go too far, it's just sitting out there and
kind of thought it would encourage them to have less 1-bedroom apartments or 1-bedroom units, that they would have more 2-bedroom, which would make more people available to live there. I don't know.
Right. Well, just encourage them to either keep the 3, whatever they want to go, but if they want to help with their parking, they're just going to have to turn some into 1-bed. I'm just saying, it just was funny how the numbers worked out, and it had to deal with the 1-bedroom and the 3 bedrooms. And, it's goofy math or whatever they call that, funny math, but it just, sometimes you can't explain it. But when you see it on paper and do all the calculations, boom, there it is.
I think that's called
And it
Common
didn't
Core.
obstruct anybody's view, by the way.
Pete says that's Common Core math is what it's called.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
But if you saw my scratch papers that I ended up, doing all these, I went from a 150 unit complex down to a 60 unit complex and just did all these variety of them. And they all seem to work out better by doing that. Now, you guys can just say, you know what? I don't want to give them any breaks. We'll just keep it at 2.25. I'm fine with that. But I just think that sometimes, especially on the 1 bedroom, because we went from 1.1 up to 1.75. Okay. I mean, that's a big jump on the 1 bedrooms.
I like the 1.75 for the 1 bedroom because you're more than likely have young families that are going to have 2 cars, even though it's just a 1 bedroom. I mean, you can't even afford a 1 bedroom right now by yourself. So you have to have 2 people in one. So I think that's smart to have it that way.
And I went from 2.0 all the way through. But when I went back and just did some of our projects, man, it like added, that one that Wasatch Builders did, they would have been adding 83 extra parking stalls by going 2 all the way through. And I'm going, that's a lot in that same project where the council had them put in 22 extra in that one area. And I think it'll probably work okay there, but I'm just going from the 22 they put into 83. That was a big jump. And then I did the one that Turner's did over by the Coles area, and that one went up like 69 because it wasn't, the other one was 200 units. And the one with the Turners was like 150. It popped them up to 59 to 60 extra. And I'm just going, that's a lot of stalls. And I just can't see that many, having to be required for that area like that. So all feathers out somehow.
Council can still make the decision.
They can still do what they want to do. Yeah.
To move it up or down. And so can we. We can make our recommendations.
You can make your recommendation off of this. You can change it. I'm fine with that. I'm just needing to get it done because the longer we sit and keep trying to play with the numbers, it's not getting into the code and we're still behind when projects come in.
And it should slow up meetings or speed up meetings so we don't have to argue over parking stalls.
Right.
Yep. Cool. Just wanted to leave the expertise to you guys for sure. Anything else, commissioners? Good. I'll entertain a motion on.
Did we open the public hearing and close it?
I'm going to open the public hearing at this time. Is there anybody here in the chamber that would like to speak to this item? I will close the public hearing at this time, and I will look for a motion on item 7A.
Go for it. Want me to do it?
Hit it.
This Sheila, I move that we amend a portion of the city code by amending Title 9-16-5, number of parking spaces, and 9-16-12, guest parking requirements for multiple family development sections.
And that's on to the city council.
Yeah, it
Unless you
doesn't
were
look
gonna
to me
add
like
more,
it goes on to city council. Doesn't say that.
Yeah,
Oh, it does? Okay, and we'll move that forward to the city council.
It's Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I don't see that.
Right at the very end.
Page 3. Yeah.
I've got a first by Commissioner Shield, a second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Commissioner Shield.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The item passes. We'll send that to City Council with a recommendation for approval. Item number 8 is there anything else that the commissioners or staff need to bring before this body in this meeting prior to adjournment? I'll look for.
Well, I will just ask now, are some of you going to the League of Cities and Towns? Did you get invited? Anybody? I thought somebody who got personally invited to go. You're welcome to go, and we'll pay for your registration and everything. It's up at the old Salt Palace. It's like a 3-day event. It's put on again by the Utah League of Cities and Towns. So
Geez, we get to stand in the Little America and all that?
well, no, because they moved it. It used to be at the Sheridan, and the Little America was across the street, but it's now down by the Salt Palace. You could probably, wherever we can find rooms, but we need to know now. I just need to know if any of you are interested. And again, you have to, get up there. We pay for your for your hotels and your meals and your registration if you wanted to go. It's in the 1st of October, first week of October. So if you are interested, give me a call or come see me.
Did they send out the information, or maybe not? Maybe can they send out the information?
Select few, very
did
select
I-
few got that.
Yeah,
I can send it out to you
Maybe
if
we're
you
not
want to go.
invited.
Some people, they're just too busy to go, and it's,
Too busy, I can't make it.
and I mean, if you're interested, let me know and let's talk. And if you can't, then it's okay. There's some neat stuff. It's a lot of work, breakout sessions. You can go to different things and learn some different stuff. And they got great keynote speakers and pretty good food and stuff. But if you're too busy, I'm just asking if you wanted to go,
It'd
let
be
me know. I
interesting.
need to know as soon as possible so I can get.
Do they only do it once a year, or do they do it twice a year?
Well, they have a junior one down here every year.
During spring break?
Yes. So if you wanted to catch a smaller one, they'll come down and do, some of the stuff down here. They do it over at the St. George Convention Center. They do a smaller version of it, and it's different topics. I think they keep it more whatever's happening at that time. So, but if you're interested, it sounds like you might be, yes, no.
I'm going to be in Ireland.
Ireland, Oi. Wow. Okay. So if you're interested, you can either stick around or come see me
Website to look at.
come see me tomorrow or something. I think they might have an agenda out, and maybe I'll try to get it and then just forward that on
That'd be good.
to you
I'd
too,
be
and then let me
interested in
know.
just learning more about what it is.
Yeah. Again, it's not so much zoning. I mean, there are classes on that, but it's just a lot of state. Some of them are the litigation. I mean, the bills as they go through, they'll kind of talk about some of them and the problems of some of them, and they'll give lots of different things. It's a variety of all kinds of stuff in the state. They have one of the days is designated just for planning commissioner, and they'll have topics like half of the breakout sessions are all about planning stuff, but it's just usually on that Thursday.
You going, Brett?
He's going. So it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's kind of the back half of Wednesday, all of Thursday, half of Friday. It's I think that's how it is, isn't it? Yeah, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Now, problem is that's a planning commission night. They used to have them during the city council Wednesdays, and they would just never plan those. So I guess I need to know if we're going to have a quorum here, or we just try not to have a meeting. We may just.
Let's try not to
Try
have
to-
a meeting.
I knew when I offered that what would be said, but if there's some of you that are going to be gone and stuff, then we may just try to do that. I think we have some things coming, but I think I can bump
You'll
them
be
forward.
gone, right? You're headed up there?
Well, I'm still debating. Sometimes I just go up on Thursday,
Oh,
the one day. But if you're going, I would recommend you go the whole time because you'll have city council there. It's good to mingle with them, and they usually try to sit at the same tables when they eat and in between all the sessions. So anyway, I'll just have you guys. In fact, I'm just gonna. We have your emails, and Cody and Doug, I'll just send them out to you, the thing, and if you're interested, let me know, and then I can. But I need to know sooner the better, and then so I can get rooms, kind of done, and hopefully Tara might not have. Hopefully there's still some available, but just in the next day or two, if you just let me know.
all right.
Sorry, but that just
Excellent.
popped in my head.
Perfect. I'll look for a motion for adjournment for this evening.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I make a motion or a movement to adjourn the meeting.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
All right, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all. Thanks again, Drew, Eldon, Melody, Michelle, John.
So you can close the public hearings, but you can't